Hi, this is Alex Gonzalez, and this is In Your Phase. This is going to be a 40K based episode where we're going to be reviewing a GT that just happened this past weekend in Spain. We're also going to be talking to John about his Necrons. He is a veteran Necron player as of 5 whole weeks. Despite that, he doesn't have a lot of experience against Space Marines, specifically Death Watch. So we were going to give him tips on how to fight against his MEQ. And it is really important to note that this recording happened before we found out a little bit more on the Death Watch Codex leaks. I had already anticipated in the recording that they were going to be able to make Necron's reanimation a little bit more difficult. That continues to hold true. We weren't fully sure, but we're just going to have to find out in our next episode how John's game went. So enjoy.
It was great. It'd be like big transforming robots that did battle. It was pretty much
BattleBots, awesome. Hell yeah. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Of course, there would be a story. I figured you would have like co-ownership of the the sharks, and that you like.
Well, now that you mentioned that,
yeah, you're like, well, actually, I have this story where I met Peter Mayhew or whatever I've just literally made up a name that sounds like you would own a sports team.
That sounds like a baseball owner.
Yeah, right.
For real, I actually thought you were talking about a real guy who owned a team. I'm not gonna lie.
Hi everyone, this is us in your phase. We are going to be talking about 40K today. In my phase, I don't have much. I have constant clapping at this point, so I'm going to guess that the Dodgers are doing good. This comes out after the World Series, so hey, if they didn't, I don't know what to say. But if they did, then you guys will know that I'll have a very good and easy rest of my week with my fiance. But I have a bunch of Necrons that I'm looking at right now and paint. I have base coated a majority of my Necrons. And yesterday I was able to get the burgundy, the screamer pink on everything but the eyes, because I still don't trust myself. I have a precision needle and a precision nozzle on a Badger Chrome airbrush. I have not had the pleasure of going to a airbrush class like John has, where you literally learn to do like the detail work with an airbrush. I don't trust myself with that yet, so I'm going to do regular brush for now for things like eyes and all the small bits. But I was able to get the weapons and some of the more obvious bright spots, like on Scarabs and Scorpec, down for the initial coat. Then I'm going to paint everything else, and then I'm going to start working up the OSL for a pink on the blades, on the eyes, on everything like that. And I'm still trying to experiment with what a second color is going to be, because I'm going to have these blue Necrons, these like very metallic-y blue Necrons with pink and they're going to have like black under armor. So it's just something subtle rather than a metallic, like a silver or a gunmetal. So I'm still trying to sort out what my like royal stuff is going to be, like the head crests and stuff. I still don't know what color those are going to be. I still don't know what my my secondary color is going to be yet. So I have to experiment. Some friends of ours who are really great painters, they have not been helpful. Certain individuals who are Corsairs who live in the Bay Area, they have not been helpful whatsoever, who are professional painters.
Alex, I tried.
Oh yeah, of course. So I'm still trying to experiment to figure out what that second color is going to be, because the synthwave, my initial thought is a teal or an orange, but I know for a fact it's not going to look very good on this particular type of blue. So gotta figure that one out. But got my Necrons put together. I have tried to fight all day. Today has been way less progressive than yesterday. Today I was fighting, trying to make these new Tomb Blade drone conversions out of the Tomb Blades that I had already built. So I had murdered and destroyed a few of my Tomb Blades trying to figure out how to make that conversion. But after a while, because of how complex a Tomb Blade model is, thankfully my fully painted Tomb Blades I did not break. So I just like magnetized mine to have my older ones to have gauze cannons on the bottom. It doesn't have gauze yet, or gauze blasters. And I just said, fuck it, I'm buying a new Tomb Blade kit instead of murdering any more of my minis. And I'm going to make these little drone ones. I put them up on the Discord earlier for us. They're way simpler, but they're also going to be way easier to transport. And it's also not as many bits. So I'm okay with that because they have like 36 bits to make one Tomb Blade. It's a nightmare. Never build them. Buy them used or make a drone version. They're awful to build. Not as awful as a Mortark, I will say that. But that is all that's on my phase. I'm neglecting painting any AOS. I'm doing more organizing in my closet. And I actually have a bunch of terrain that I'm going to be bringing to Jeremy's oubliette for his stream. So, John, speaking of you, since you did coin the phrase oubliette, what is in your phase?
Oh, thank you very much, Alex. Well, I tell you what, in my phase this week, not a whole lot of hobby directly. If you guys remember last week, I built the hell out of a bunch of Marines and stuff. This week, I have continued work on the Skorpek Destroyer. You guys probably saw me this last Wednesday doing the last episode of this series. Pretty much, put the lights in and did the final assembly. And so now I'm starting to look at what I'm going to do for the Silent King, which is going to be my next build on the Wednesday night hobby night. And really, I'm just looking at all kinds of possibilities. I haven't even settled down, but next week on Wednesday, I'm going to kind of go through my different plans for the Silent King and then work that out. To help me with that, I actually recently picked up a very nice Suntory whiskey toki, and I've been enjoying this very light flavor with this fine Japanese whiskey. It was interesting. The wife and I went to Cambria, California this last week and stayed at the Cambrian Pines Lodge there. And it's funny, we went to a bar and I was like, for dinner and at the lodge, and we had a beautiful prime rib. And the guy said, well, what do you want to drink? I said, you know what? If you have any Japanese whiskey, I'll have whatever that is. And he comes back, he says, sir, I don't have any Japanese whiskey. And he pulls out the little app. They have an app now that actually shows all the booze. And I realized that if you had an app that showed all the booze, couldn't you just like have started with that? But he had some fine of the Glenlivet 12. So that was a good side one to get. Other than that, I really haven't been doing too much. I am getting ready to actually play a nice game against my buddy Anthony this weekend. So I'm hoping to maybe get some help from my friends here on a fine Marine killing list with my Necrons. Now that I've started, finished up my Skorpek Lord, and I'm looking at the Silent King, really ready to start diving in. I played a few games with the Marines as I got more of my Necrons built. But now I am just ready to focus in on the Necrons and see what I can accomplish with them. And so I've been actually counting up all my different guys. I have 80 warriors right now. So
John, do you by any chance have a list either written down of all the things that you have built, or do you have like a document with it all?
I do. I don't know where I have that handy.
Okay. I was saying, you can build that list tonight.
Yeah. I tell you, maybe I could help you through with that. I do have most of the old stuff, so we'll see what we can do later. Maybe we could talk about that. Other than that, that's been a pretty chill week for me. Like I said, and spend some time with the wife and all that. Oh, I mean, on the side, I did actually get in an accident. I got rear-ended in my car. So I guess that happened going down the freeway. We were getting, the day I was supposed to go out of town with my wife. So I went into work like 2 hours early. So I was on the freeway at 5 a.m. And part of the freeway where it slows down every day came to a stop. I look up and I see a guy behind me not slowing down at all. No reaction. He plowed right into the back of my car. He told me that he was looking over his shoulder to change lanes, and then when he looked back, he plowed into me. I was like, dude, you glance over your shoulder. Anyways, I just said to him, I said, look, man, I'm here at 5 a.m. because I'm trying to go into work 2 hours early. I don't have time for you to be running into my car. Just give me your information. I need to get the heck out of here. So I got his info. His car was totaled. The whole front end was destroyed. Luckily, my SUV, though it may be totaled, was still driving at least enough to get me to work. So that's what's been in my phase. Had a little schmackaroony in my phase, along with all the fun hobby and enjoying some fine whiskey. Mr. Garrett, what has been in your phase this week, my friend? Hopefully a less violent experience than mine.
Yeah, I mean, as always, like your light and calm week of a phase is more exciting than anything I'm going to come up with. So I've had an interesting phase. So John always writes down on our agenda for me to talk about some interesting anecdote from my multitude of role-playing games that I play at this point. And probably the highlight for this week for me was on our Saturday campaign, which is using the Ghosts of Saltmarsh 5th edition campaign setting book. I guess it is. It's a weird book because it's not exactly a like adventure module. It's like a campaign setting with like 7 adventures in it. It's actually a really interesting, really cool book. But we were running one of the adventures in it where the party goes out and are like treasure hunters on a derelict vessel that they're hired to go acquire some documents. They're like writs of ownership for land that a merchant needs of a ship that was lost at sea forever. And the finale of it, which is what we ran on Saturday, is an elder octopus is attacking the vessel right as they get the documents in this big, large box that they have to haul off the ship. And so we got to have this octopus kind of just like attacking this vessel and trying to tear it and bring it underwater as they were racing off. And they actually skipped the whole boat on their way down into the hull to grab the thing. So all of the enemies were still alive. And so they had to fight their way back up through all of the enemies they skipped. And I almost killed the entire party. I actually downed every single member of my party at some point.
What class are you?
I'm the DM.
That's the most powerful class.
Yeah. So it's like at any point, like at some point, like every single person in the party was brought to 0 hit points at some point during the encounter. Like one person was brought to 0 hit points and the other person like shoved a potion down their throat and then they were brought down to 0 hit points. And so the other person like threw them overboard and then they were brought down to 0 hit points. And it's like, they're constantly like stabilizing each other. And it was a very exciting adventure where like I almost wiped the party. It was like, oh God, am I going to murder everybody? So that was exciting. In Warhammer news, I am continuing to actually put some paint onto my Sisters of Battle, my Bloody Rose sisters. After much deliberation of like how to paint 2 factions that will look like one faction, because I was going to try to run the standard Valorous Heart with Bloody Rose. After honestly running Valorous Heart with the Ignore Rend 1, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going pure Bloody Rose. I mean, this the faction that I originally played as Sisters of Battle. I've always painted my army as Bloody Rose. I've loved the aesthetic of it. And so and then the rules for Bloody Rose happened to be good. And I was like, great. The army that I painted my army as are the rules that are actually great. And then I played half of a game with Jeremy yesterday, actually, on Tabletop Simulator. We started our buddy Paul McKelvey decided to start a league for Tabletop Simulator on 40K where we get 2 weeks to play a game. And Jeremy and I obviously were like, well, we both have free time. We'll play on the first day of the 2 weeks and just get it out of the way. And so he brought Necrons, because this is an interesting league where you can change your army list and your faction between games. Like, it's literally just an excuse to play, I guess, like 4 or 5 games or something over 10 weeks.
Yeah.
And so Jeremy, instead of playing sisters against my sisters, he decided to play Necrons. So I got to actually get some practice against Necrons, got to see them in battle. And I played pure Bloody Rose for the first time. And honestly, I'm satisfied with my decision to go pure Bloody Rose. They performed as I would expect. It's like the basic sisters, or I would normally want to be Valorous Heart. I honestly don't feel like I'm losing much by making them Bloody Rose. Having Celestians be Bloody Rose is amazing. Zephyrim, obviously, you're always taking a Bloody Rose detachment to get Zephyrim or Repentia or something like that, and then the Smash Canonist. So it's like, honestly, I don't have to pay the command points to get a separate patrol or something, or a Vanguard detachment to take 2. So I'm just 1 battalion, all Bloody Rose. So long story short, I'm painting up my Bloody Rose, and I just acquired 2 boxes of Retributors because you need more Retributors now that their weapons are better. And I bought a box of Repentia because there was the 1 models I never owned of sisters. So, and I figured I may as well get a box so I can play around with them. So
they're a really cool kit.
Yep. Yeah. And the new Repentia are also a really cool kit. I never actually really liked the old kit, but then I like the new kit
The
more.
old
So
kit was cringy.
yeah. And dainty. Like the old kit was like
Mhm.
really flimsy. Yeah, like when they were pewter, it's like everything would bend. The eviscerator was, and their arms were really flimsy. It was just like, no, what? I'm glad that the new plot, they're more, they have a little bit of bulk to them because they're the larger kits and stuff like that. So they'll be easier to assemble and build. So I'm excited to start building those and painting them along with my Zephyrim and the rest of my sisters. So that has been what's going on in my phase this week. So other than our game against each other, Jeremy, which we're actually going to start over and play a new game, Jeremy, what has been going on in your phase this week?
You know what? Like, I've hobby wise, I've been knocking out through my sister's army that I'm painting. Started like finally doing some of the character work today. Because I painted already Ephraim Stern and one Canoness, and I started painting Celestine today because I like to take a break because I want to mass painting models. I'll take a break and then just paint a single character to just get my, because I'll be honest, like painting one color on like every model I own like, at a time, just like is literally the most torturous like event.
Mind numbing.
Yeah, it's actually literally torture to me. I bloody hate it, but I know it gets the paint job done faster effectively. And I'm also doing I built some Necrons. I will, if, like everybody else in this podcast, including Alex, jumping on the bandwagon. I'm just fucking kidding.
Yeah, you know it.
I may as well.
Is Garrett jumping on the bandwagon?
So Michael Schwartz, I got him the Indomitus set, and so he has the Necron half. I'm tempted to just be like, Schwartz, I'll just take it. I'll just restart my Necron army.
There you go.
They are the sisters of Xenos.
That's right. Honestly, the I after playing Alex a couple of times and seeing them on the table, I'm very impressed with the rules and how they perform. So I'm excited to not necessarily take them to event because I'm committed to Imperial Fist and Sisters for this year. But I want to take a break in an RTT if we ever get back to a normal C state. I want to give them a shot. I think they play. I think they're like basically for me they're like an Age of Sigmar army in 40k. They're literally playing like Death Legions of Nagash,
except they can shoot.
Legion of Nagash / Fire Slayers mixed into one.
Yeah, they and then also like the Fire Slayer element too works a lot. I don't know, like they did a really good job on this book. I will say. I hope it stays that way in terms of power level for the rest of this 9th edition, but who the hell knows, right? That's a little too much to ask from Games Workshop. Talking about Games Workshop.
Oh no.
I just want to point out that I still don't understand their business model for their 40k app. They've learned some valuable lesson from Azure over a long period of time. They did some mistakes. They fumbled through it, and they're still fumbling with it. But at least they got to a standard at which is like workable and useful and adds value to the subscription service. Like there's a value add to it.
For now,
right? Unfortunately, they're a little busy with the 40k app, which is where the problem really gets going. The fact that 2 months ago, and this is by the way a story I think I've shared with all of you, but
wait, Jeremy, is this the right background?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it that way.
Oh, okay,
I'm gonna keep it that way. Because as much as it grinds,
he's got gears to grind.
There's got some gears behind me.
I have a lot of gears behind him.
Look, they're literally falling out of the sky. I will point out that. So this story is from my close friend of Gareth, who basically has tried to close a subscription service with the Warhammer 40k app, and apparently to do it, you have to reach out to the because you can't do it from the app. You have to reach out to the actual Games Workshop support service by email,
unless you use Apple.
Yeah, unless you use Apple, I guess. And he basically emailed them and wrote them to tell them he wanted to cancel his subscription. The email he got back was, "How can we help you, navigate through the app?" Actually, I think he got a call. I think if I remember correctly, they actually called him to help him how to use the app and navigate the app. I forgot if it was a call or a chat, but either way, his point was that look, like I just don't want to use this app I don't want to pay for this app anymore. I'm literally losing value as time goes on, because when you first introduced it, I was paying a subscription service that allowed me to read every rule from every book that was available in the entire range. Going forward now, every codex that gets released, I have to physically buy a hard copy and input a code to get those rules back. Now my subscription didn't get adjusted. It didn't go down or nothing, even though I literally lost a set of rules. And from his point of context, which is the Space Marine and Necron rules are no longer available to him with the app, even though he's, before was paying and had them available. And he can't buy the digital version of the book. There is no business. Games Workshop has decided that their entire business model now was that we're going to sell hard copies with a digital code. And that's it for 40K, which is, by the way, something totally not an Age of Sigmar app. And I hope they don't implement it, because we'll be honest, like 100% of the reason why I even use that app is because I have literally every book of Age of Sigmar on my fingertips.
I just want to say, I have not bought a physical book from Games Workshop since the limited edition, I think either 6th or 7th edition Orc Codex, which was one of the first limited edition that came with special objective marker coins. That was the last physical book I bought, because I love their digital products. Actually, I have the Age of Sigmar app. Their digital products was great. I was buying their enhanced edition books on the Apple iBook app. Like I have the Adeptus Sororitas enhanced edition book. I love it. It's easy to navigate. It flows well. I have always loved their digital content. The 40K app, their digital content is okay. I could survive it. Like, I was paying my subscription to get access to all the rules, but then
as an Apple user, it took you a while before it was even working.
Yep. But I got to the point where the Space Marine and Necron book codex came out, and I was out there begging on the street for people who didn't want to use their code to sell me one so that I could gain access. And then I just got to the point where I was like, I'm not going to bother anymore. Like, I don't buy physical books because I don't want to have a bookshelf. I'm a digital guy. I'm an app developer. I just use digital products. That's what I do. I don't want to, when I go to a tournament, I don't want to bring a bag full of books to have my rules. I want my digital codex. I want my digital rules. I can have my iPad, my iPhone, wherever, to show my opponents. Like, I like having access to rules, officially purchased rules from Games Workshop that I can use to peruse, browse, look up things, show my opponent, whatever. But I do it digitally because I like to see my opponent's rules. I like having every codex, but I can't do that anymore. Like, I actually emailed Games Workshop and I said, do you have any plans of providing a way to purchase these things in app? And their answer was, we have no plans to do so at this moment. So as far as I'm concerned, they have abandoned me as a customer.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to the fact that they're trying to circumvent the whole like payment structure of app usage. Like, they're basically trying to cut out they're trying to
that
cut
30%.
out
Yeah.
What 30%?
If you buy things through Apple, like, for example, the subscription that I was paying for in Apple gets a 30% cut of that.
So I can only hope that Games Workshop, we all support Games Workshop. We're all there. But in a way, it's like you got to have a little slap on the wrist, maybe take a little bit of a hit from it, from not doing this the proper way. Games Workshop, if you're watching, I have the Necron Codex. I buy physical books. I have it. I won't download your 40K app because it's hot garbage, but that's not, I mean, I don't know whose fault that is. I'm sure it's not the president's fault or whatever. I'm sure it's like 7 people's fault all at once. But Age of Sigmar, I got my iPad. I got the little PCP sticker. I got a T-Rex. Got some other stuff on the back, right? I use this for Age of Sigmar. I bring it at every tournament. I don't need anything else. People say, you got your rule book? I'm like, yeah, I got my iPad. I have like 5 battle tomes on here. I have every general's handbook that year by year. You download it, you get it straight from the app. If I'm playing my opponent and I'm not super familiar with the army, or especially in TTS, if I'm not familiar with my opponent's army, I will flip it open. I'll do the little add to battle thing. I'll have all the war scrolls for each unit in my opponent's army, so that I might not know their faction rules, because I might not have necessarily have bought in their battle tome yet, their codex for those who are listening, but I'll have all of their rules, all their data slate rules, all at once, all in one convenient spot. And if you're a 40K player, which of course this is a 40K episode, so I sure hope you are, but if you are, download the Age of Sigmar app, because it's actually free, and just like peruse it, and then get very angry at Games Workshop for this, because it's a free app with every single rule for every single unit in the game. When a new battle tome, which is codex and Age of Sigmar speak, when a new army book comes out, they don't suddenly put a lock symbol next to all of the Daughters of Cain or all the legions of Nagash. You still are able to see, not only you are actually able to see the updated data slate, the updated war scroll for those units a week before. Usually it was a week before. Now it's, I think, the weekend of, they update it now in order to reflect those. Well, they haven't reflected it. They haven't updated it since the 40K app came out. So that's a goddamn tragedy. But some people, I mean, I have a Azure subscription. I know Jeremy does too, but within the app itself, there's a list builder. It's not great, especially when there's a free list builder on Games Workshop's website that is 10 times better and easier, and is the general consensus for regular format. So always use that, never use Azure. But despite that, it is overall, I would give the app like a 8 or 9 out of 10. Like, it is something that I always use for Age of Sigmar. 40K, I see absolutely no use for it, especially with these changes. And it has actually made me a little pissed off. It's grinding my gears, It's like, I want to be able to have like a cool, convenient, useful app on a device that I use, and I can't do that for 50% of my wargaming right now, because it's a bad app. It doesn't make any sense. It needs a complete overhaul. And it's like price gouging like that isn't going to work. It's not helpful. I don't know what you're holding up. It's not. Oh, it's that.
I'm honestly going to say something like, so if based off of my purchase history in Age of Sigmar, I would actually be willing to spend $10 to $20 a month subscription to have access to every single.
I'm editing this out.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to spend 10 to 20 bucks a month.
You've just lost all credibility with our listeners. That's it.
To have access to all codexes.
I agree with Garrett. I'd pay more a month to just, and honestly, for the 40K app, I actually disagree with Alex. I like the 40K app.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I like it. I just, their entire financial modeling structure doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't know.
Just not being able to buy the codexes in a digital format only is the huge thing. Like I'm with you. I actually buy battle tomes and codexes, the hard copy, for any armies that I play. But
exactly.
I buy digital rules. Don't pirate. I am super against piracy. I buy digital rules for every single faction that is released in Age of Sigmar, right? Yep. Every single faction. And if I could have the digital versions of 40K, I was buying every single codex in the thing. Every single one. Why? Because just like you guys, I go to tournaments, I play at friends' houses. I don't play every army, but I don't want to sit there and question my opponent constantly. I want to be able to quickly look up a rule, verify things. And it's so much better when you catch somebody being wrong with something to go, oh, no, I just looked that up. You got this wrong. I tell you what, that just keeps them on the straight and narrow the whole time. Right? Yeah. So there's little things like that that actually enhance that above table play when everybody can just kind of have everything in front of them. I was really disappointed. As much as I do think that the 40K app organizationally makes sense for the way a 40K codex is laid out, as opposed to an Age of Sigmar battle tome, I would have been happy with an exact duplication of the Age of Sigmar app format. And for those that haven't used the Age of Sigmar Azure app, the difference is this. In the Age of Sigmar app, you have one section that is all the units rules. It is basically the data sheet for every unit in the game. It can be searched and filtered and very quickly find the rules for any single unit that you want to look at. In a separate library section, you have the ability to buy the exact codex or the exact battle tome. And the nice thing is you get all the fluff. So if you want to read the stories, you want to look at some of the art, you want to see some of the backgrounds, you want to see anything about it, it is basically just a digital copy of the entire Battle Tome Codex for you to read and peruse. And that, if they had only done that for 40K, I'm happy. Give me a complete digital slate and all the rules for me to reference, done. The fact that the 40K app is organized differently and in a way that actually makes sense for 40K is great. But on the flip side, there's no fluff, there's no background. It is just rules, right? So I don't know. I'm on a wall with it as far as that goes, but no digital purchase, purchase. And
Dude.
Since we're ranting about, these apps from Games Workshop, I will point out that they have another mega fail app, and that's this one right here. This is the Black Library app, right?
Oof.
Have any of you guys seen this thing? So
No.
I started using it at first, buying my $50 audiobook to keep up with the Horus Heresy with the damn Black Library. But after 2 or 3 in a row didn't even work, or the chapters were out of order, or were missing an entire section. I never had that trouble with Audible.
I don't
So
think I've seen John this mad about the books before.
that
I appreciate
that right there got me irate, the damn audiobook app. And then we get the 40K app, which is in my mind the next one on the backside of that. We need more winners like the Azir app and the 40K dice app.
Which doesn't
Yeah.
exist anymore.
Yeah.
I just realized, John, you made me realize something that I just didn't think about the 40K app. I think I figured out, I think I know why they don't do the digital copies in the 40K app itself, the book copies. It's literally a financial reason. It's the bloody bandwidth. So hear me out here. Storing information on a server platform, like a text that you have on all the data sheets, those objects are like much smaller bandwidth capacity. Like they're microbytes, like very small data sets. But basically, having users download copies, physical EPUB files, basically that's what they are. They're just EPUB files onto an app. That's a lot more like bandwidth consumption at a time, right? They're only doing it once, but I bet it would not be that shocking to me, because based on their decision to skim out the middleman from collecting a certain amount of money on their book sales, it would not be surprising that they also designed it that way so they wouldn't have to pay as much on the basically bandwidth allotment from having everybody download stuff from EPUB files. And maybe I'm crazy, but
No, that makes sense.
Financial reasoning from the first one, and I'm like, yeah, I think they're just trying to basically make the app as like low operating costs as possible. Like that's it. Like they just want it to be almost near zero costs, and because they're from their perspective, the entirety of the cost of the value of the app is made outside of the app, and they're just basically trying to find a way to make it like cost $0 to basically maintain. Like and I think they figured it out effectively. I think it's a mistake, but I think they figured it out.
I mean, yeah, like as far as maintenance costs, I would actually gladly pay $10 a month to just have access to every rule that will ever be released at all times.
So that's the whole thing though. Like Games Workshop. Okay, so John made a good point. It's more than just their 40K app. Like the Black Library app is hot garbage. Like I listened to that Infinite and Divine Necron audiobook. I had to get it on Audible. I wasn't going to deal with Black Library. I looked at it. I downloaded the app. I tried looking around it, and I was like, wow, this is not going to be good if I use it, And so I had no idea that there was like missing content in your purchases as well. That's an absolute nightmare. I understand that there may have been a different developer. I understand that maybe a developer left, or maybe certain developers were hired on or contracted on in a different sequence. So there's different people working on different apps, but like I feel like I know enough people in my life who do things in tech to know that it would not be hard if there's already like information from the company that's working with one app. It would be hard work, but it would not be impossible, nor would it be like climbing Mount Everest to try to make a comparable, working, popular, useful product. You know what I mean? Bandwidth aside.
So I'll just say one thing. Games Workshop recently, I'll say another one thing. Games Workshop recently had a position open for a senior software developer position, and I think all of our concerns is the reason why. They have realized that they can't skate off of internal or external developers. And so this may be a problem that'll be solved later as they get actual dev teams into their company that'll have real change.
So, but here's another thing too. Like all of us are very upfront, right? Like we are not in positions where we can't not afford our books, right? A $50 codex is definitely an incredibly expensive price for what I would say a codex is, when my battle tomes are like $20, right? But I still bought mine because I love Necrons. But this is the only one I'm going to buy. If I'm in a game of 40K and I have a question for my opponent, I'm gonna ask them for their book. I'm gonna be like, hey, can I see your book real quick? Which is like old school. There's something to be said about playing it old school. But we're so used to now in the last, like, I'll be honest, like in the last like 5 to 7 years, like I'm so used to not having to deal with books because of these digitalized formats, and having the books if I want them for like sentimental value, like we've already talked about before. I know, like, I know a lot of people that pirate. I know a lot of people that pirate. I know people who are like, oh, fuck, especially with the new codexes, like the new Space Marine Codex. I know people who are like, oh, I'm just going to continue to have the leaked version that came out in the shitty PDF that's like a potato camera, because I don't want to have to deal with, because at least it's a digital format. And that's a big no-no. I'm not going to pirate. I'm not going to do that kind of shit. But it should be indicative. It should be a wake-up call for Games Workshop, because you're going to see like 1 in every 12 people who would buy in digital codexes just pirating instead, because they're not going to deal with it. They're not going to want to deal with it. And if their buddy has a Dropbox file that has them all on like an EPUB, they're probably going to take that. And they just need to wise up.
Yeah. On the other hand, it will benefit my local game store, because the only way you're going to get the codex on release day is to go down to a physical store and pick it up.
Yeah, have you ever tried buying a back when back in the day when Games Workshop had, or Black Library had, those digital downloads for codexes, the Chaos Knight Codex and the Bone Reaper Codex. I don't know why I didn't buy the Bone Reaper Codex just on the fucking AOS app. I don't know why I didn't. I went on Black Library, but both of those I bought on Black Library site, and you could, like, pre-ordering them did not mean you got them that day. It was awful. Yeah. I don't know if you've experienced it. I assume you have.
Yeah, you're right. Well, it's just like, a good one is with the Azir app, when it comes to the new gosh, I'm trying to blank.
Sons of
Bahamut. At first I thought the battle tome wasn't there, and then I saw that the icon to buy it was just in some other random location in the app, not with the rest of the battle tomes that could be listed in the battle tome section.
I tell you, until you showed me that, I actually didn't notice that.
Yeah, and I don't guarantee that it wasn't there before Monday when I pointed it out. I looked on Saturday.
Well, we can only hope that Games Workshop really starts to wisen up and maybe learn from their mistakes. I don't want them to have to learn from their mistakes, but they might.
Yeah, and at this point they shouldn't be, because you know what? They are a mature EPUB company. They have years of publishing battle tomes, codexes, software, apps, rules, facts, community engagements.
Yep.
This is a company that has so much experience across the width of media that there is no excuse for the amateurish release that we've seen of the 40K app and the maintenance of it this week. And you know what? That's it. I'm done talking about it. If you keep going on, I'm going to get in.
We could.
That's
Yo,
it.
we could
That's
have we could have an entire episode on this alone, which I think is a fantastic topic. But we do, of course, want to get to some of the main content. And we had a GT that we wanted to look over. This is a GT that happened in Spain. I am going to ruin the pronunciation once more, but I'm pretty sure it's the Iblosita, and I don't know what the TXO is. I don't know how to pronounce a TXO. So if you guys know the pronunciation better than I do, have at. But it was in Spain. There's this GT was specifically in, it was in Baracaldo, Escaldi. I do not understand Spaniard Spanish over something else, but it was in Spain. It was in northern Spain, essentially, right near the North Sea, and there were quite a few people at this event. They had a lot of things going on in terms of a big spread of 40K players. And initially, as someone in the United States, as someone in kind of pandemic central on the planet, I can't wrap my head around having a big event, a GT, a major, or otherwise. But they, as John had pointed out prior to the show, they had an entire policy on keeping masks on and using sanitation methods and proper guidelines for health and safety, which I really appreciate. But with this GT, there's we can go into some of the main topics of the event itself, as well as some of these precautionary measures before really going into these final placings here. But John, you yourself were the first one to discover these kind of regulations and these they call it internal regulations for the new normality, which I can't tell you how many times I've heard new normal lately. But what were some of your thoughts on these kind of like initial information about this
Sure.
new normal policy?
Yeah, so I think a lot of what we're seeing here with this new normal is actually from the La Guardita Tabletop Club, which seems to be kind of like, if I was to equate it to anything, it seems a lot like a game castle like we have here in the Bay Area, which is a retail area with a much, much larger multi-function gaming area. And so part of what they talk about in their new normal is, that they can have, 5 people in a painting workshop, 5 people in the board game room, 6 people doing role-playing games, and a maximum of 60 people in the building, all told. So these are some kind of the normals, and it was fun. They have a little Q&A. It's like, do you have to wear a mask inside the club? Yes. Do I have to wash my hands with sanitizer when I'm enter the premises? Yes. Do I have to clean the bathroom after using it? Yes. So all these kinds of things. Do I have to practice safe distances? Yes. In fact, it's a very positive list. As I look down it, there is only 1 or 2 no's on the entire list, which is, can I come here if I actually am sick? Which is no. And do I have to sign the book when I come in? No, you don't have to sign the book when you come in. So other than that, I thought it was pretty cool. I think this is a pretty neat thing. I think if you have enough open space, that we're going to start seeing more and more events like this. Hopefully we'll start seeing of events like this in the United States as well. We're not talking about a 75 or 100 person GT, right? We're talking about, what was the total here? 28 people.
Woo!
So 28 people in a very large gaming space that is designed to handle a maximum of 60 people. So well spread out by the pictures that I could see of it. As well as the very fact that just playing, 40K in general, there's going to be a minimum of a 4-foot space between people. And if everyone stands a foot back from the table, there's our 6-foot social distance without too much effort. So I think all of that can be pretty readily achieved. So that was what I noticed as far as the event and what was going on. I was so excited in exploring the new normal. I didn't take much of a look at the winners and losers of the event. But Garrett, it looks like you have a little thought.
I just want to say on that FAQ, I think my favorite parts were A, can I bring my dog? Yes.
Oh, yes, of course.
You can bring your dog. Done. I'm there. The other thing that I thought was really cool is there was a question in there that said, when I come in, do I have to hit the plus button? Yes. And when I go out, do I have to hit the minus button? Yes. So that means they actually have a digital tool for counting how many people are in the building. And I think that's fucking awesome.
That is right. I didn't key in on that's what that meant, but you're right. That is actually a really good idea. I'm surprised more businesses have not done that. And I assume tied to a computer, also showing that, you have maximum minimums, maybe even a red light outside of the door.
Right.
Boom. When the red light is on, no one else can come in the building. All kinds of cool stuff. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So before we moved on to talking about the event, I just wanted to put up those 2 things. It's like, yes, dogs. Like, that's just awesome. You can bring your dog. I wonder if the dog counts towards the maximum capacity. And then B, I thought that was really cool that like places like Spain are having these digital tools where you can sign in and sign out to deal with maximum capacity during these times. Like, that's a brilliant idea. And I wish more people would implement them.
I love it.
That-
I think that's great. You know, the more opportunity you have to bring your dog and be safe and have these, maximum occupancies, these are all really good. But yeah, when it comes to these top, the top plays, of course, this was a 5-round event. Looking at them, there was only one undefeated player out of the 28. And yes, you are right. It was not a major event in any sense of the word, but in this kind of new normal, I mean, hey, a 28 player event might as well be a 56 player event, right?
Right.
Yeah, it looks like the podiumed armies were a Siriani, a Salamanders, and an Orc army. But of course, the top 10, it not just has Imperium, Cult Mechanicus, but also Tyranids and Chaos as well. So, no.
I saw your cool cousin was there running that Cult Mechanicus list, Mr. Coldo Gonzalez, huh?
It is the proper spelling of my last name, but yeah, I don't know. Hawaiianos. I'm curious about that team name. I'm curious if that means something very unique in Spanish, or if he's trying to go like Hawaiian.
Is a W? Is that a W in Spanish, or is that a V? Would that be a Hawaiianos?
I think
Hawaiianos?
I think their German is coming out, John. I believe W in Spanish is still a wa.
Yeah, W in Spanish is still a wa. But I do
Yeah,
like how the guy below him,
Hawaiianos.
I do like how Anton Baso Zabal for his Salamanders army, he's Team Bilbo Hammer. So I thought.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. But we have for the podiumed armies, we have Jorge Fehiu. The 2 O's is so I always have trouble with, so I am sorry for that. With his Soriani, we have the Fran Bolaño for his Salamanders, and Ivan Andres for his Orcs. And again.
Oh, you don't stop there. You got to do this next name. I demand that you
absolutely
pronounce
not
the next name.
What,
I demand
Javier?
it, Alex. I demand it of you, Alexander Gonzalez.
Javier
geez.
de Mendio Lagoria.
Lagodia.
Lagoitia.
Lagoria?
So I think it's Lagosia.
Lagoria?
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
No, it's
Mendio Lagoya.
Lagoria.
Lagosia.
I think it'd be LaGuacia.
I'm still convinced it's Mendio Lagoya.
Whatever. He's the goat.
He's the goat. Yeah, he is.
In fact, his team name was Goat.
Goat.
No, his team name was
GOAT. Greatest of them all.
Hey, he's
greatest of all time. That's what it is. Greatest of all time.
Finished strong with 100-point win. So there is that.
Chaos. Good job.
With chaos.
There were
Jeremy, looking at some of these,
four
looking at the
100-point.
actual content of these lists. What were some of your thoughts, especially of these top 10?
Well, first I want to point out that the guy who won really shouldn't call himself Asurani, considering most of his list was Harlequins.
Was his entire list? Was his entire list Harlequins?
No, it wasn't. But he
not enough to make him.
No, he's Asunari then, unless
it was 1,150 points of Harlequin,
doesn't matter.
Detachment Harlequin, and then less than that in Assyria, which I get, but it's just like, so this is just another this is maybe the first time we've seen a soup list effectively win the top spot. But it's basically just, hey, you know what? How about instead of having a bunch of high wire cannons, how about we give you a ton of basically advancing 16-inch, 22-inch movement transports with 6-inch pistol infernal pistols, or basically plasma pistols. And then he also has I'm sorry, not plasma pistol. Yeah, fusion pistols. Yeah, that's what they're called. And then he also has a core of effectively same hand jet bikers and 3 Wraith Lords and 2 Falcons. I think he has 2 Falcons. Yeah. So effectively he replaced the haywire bikers with a different type of shooting to deal with transports and vehicles, right? But overall, that list is just a Harlequin list with a different package. It's all it is. And
the two Wraith Lords, I was like, holy shit, when was the last time someone legitimately saw a Wraith Lord? It's either Wraith Guard or a Wraith Knight.
Yeah.
even then you won't see those.
3 Wraith Lords. He has 3.
3 Wraith Lords.
Yeah, he brought
What's that all about? Why is he running those? Is that just old school fun, or is there something potent going on?
Do we want to say it? Do we actually want to say it? Glorious European meta.
I mean, I just think it has to do with the fact that the high durability, they can be a mid-range melee unit that a lot of like Harlequin models can't deal with, like high toughness. Like let's say you're dealing with like Death Guard or things with toughness 5 can be pretty rough for biker or for Harlequins to deal with in combat sometimes. I mean, it's not that unlikely, but it's just like, I don't know. I just view it as like he just decided to have a little bit more MSU in his backfield so he can eat. One of the problems of Harlequins, if you build mono Harlequins, you're gonna have to design your list to sacrifice Harlequin units to hold things in the backfield and not actually function as an aggressive unit. Yeah. And then he's just basically said, I'm gonna build this Eldar soup where I can keep those in the backfield and midfield, and then have all my Harlequin things just go face forward, right? Face roll. And that's just how I see that he probably picked those units for that. I mean, it's basically the Harlequins all bring the fusion pistols at range, and then all of his Eldar stuff brings the high strength, mid, low AP damage output for all the other kind of horde infantry or light transports to take out. So kudos to him. I mean, it's different, but at the end of the day, it's from a fundamental play style, it's like not that different, right? It's just still Harlequins doing most of the heavy carrying, which is keeping your opponent locked in their deployment zone so they can't get on points and score points, right? So
that's what Harlequins do.
Yeah, so I was just like, it's cool. Like, that's great. How about you, Garrett? You want to take a look and tell me what friend Bolano played with?
Actually, I would like to talk about Ivan Andres.
Okay, you want to go to third place because it's orcs.
We're gonna
because it's orcs. Yes. So first of all, man after my own heart, something we haven't seen in a while: Evil Sons. I am. I
thought you were gonna say Bully Boys.
No. Oh my God. Oh, Bully Boys. Add more Bully Boys. Answered every list. But no, Evil Sons. Although looking at his list, I understand why Evil Sons. He basically had this feel. So I'm not a huge. I don't know much about 8th edition, but this feels like similar to 8th edition, where you got KFFs, and then boys, and then he grabbed 2 burner bombers for their wonderful bombing runs that they're just hilarious. Where you just crash it's anti-MSU to the max. So you just crash the burner bomber, auto explode, 3 mortal wounds to every unit within 6 inches automatically. Stratagem. So he's able to dump 2 of those. And
10 smasher guns?
Yes. So again, feels very 8th edition-y, where you bring 10 smasher guns. I never thought of this, actually. I mean, I'm new to 40K again, and when I first looked at the specialist mobs, none of them really came out to me. But honestly, this is a brilliant use of the specialist mobs. He's using the Grot mob specialist mob. What it does is Grot units get a 6-up invulnerable save, which is like, so Death Skulls gives all orcs 6-up invulnerable saves, but Grots don't actually benefit from clan cultures. So this one specifically gives Grots the 6-up invuln, and they reroll 1s to hit against vehicles. So all of his smasher guns have a 6-up invuln and reroll 1s to hit against vehicles. So I thought that was really clever. I know he's probably not the first one to think of this. This is just me. I missed all of 8th edition. So this is probably not any new, but I just was like, wow, that's really cool. You just take a bunch of smasher guns. They all have reroll 1s to hit against vehicles, and all of your Grots now have 6-up invulns. So as far as trying to take smasher guns, that's a good way to do it. And then, so it's just basically 10 smasher guns, a bunch of boys with 2 KFFs and a weird knob. So honestly, this is, I feel like, so lists that are doing really well with orcs right now are just as many boys as you can throw on the table in Goths, because you just charge them forward, and then 6 is the hit cause 2 hits, and you just double down on just boys. This kind of, instead of getting the extra hits, they went for the +1 to charge and run rolls. And so you can run and charge, you go faster, but then also you're needing 8-inch charges with re-rolling either dice instead of 9-inch charges when you teleport with the jump. And then throwing those 2 burner bombers for anti-MSU. So if you have a an old Marine army that has all their buffs kind of like centralized, you can easily just throw burner bombers on them and nuke them. And then boys to just capture objectives, hold the line, and murder. I'm surprised he doesn't have like one pain boy just to give all those boys a 6-up feel no pain in addition. But otherwise, it's a pretty straightforward list. I mean, it's literally 4 different units just spammed. So,
do we have an idea of what the terrain was like at that event?
John?
I do not. There was no specific that the shots they had were more of the gaming hall, no actual table shots that I could find.
I'm not questioning his performance. I'm just curious because it is very much an 8th edition orc list.
His only loss was to the guy who got first.
Yeah. I mean, but have you seen his wins? Like 99, 91, 95, 85, and then 38.
Yep.
Like he was definitely rocking the event. And I mean, honestly, like looking at that list, like, yeah, if it's a pretty big shooting lane, like those masher guns will do work.
I think in modern 9th edition with the tables, I could see, like, I've heard people using 1 block of 5 smasher guns, but 2 blocks of 5 smasher guns. Yeah, that seems a bit excessive.
I think a lot of events aren't quite up to the current edition's terrain. I mean, the edition's only been out for a couple months, and events are barely happening at a pace relative to what they would normally be happening. Like if this was a normal year, we'd have had so many major events and so many GTs by this point that like how tournament terrain works would have been solved and sorted out. Whereas with the lack of sort of major GTs, it's kind of left a little more in the garage than it has in previous editions. And so because of that, we're not seeing as much development at the store or at the gaming hall either, I think. So
Yeah.
that would be my take on it. So I have to agree with you. I would be surprised if we're looking at, 2 L's in the middle and 3 pieces of ruins in each deployment zone. Classic 8th edition, 7th edition, 6th edition, 5th edition.
See, Jeremy's right. I think it's smart of him to talk about the subject of what terrain might look like, but there's also something to be said about how the players are playing. Like, I took an entire break pretty much from 8th edition, so going into 9th with a new codex was pretty easy for me. But we've all been playing 40K for several editions now, and even for transitions from editions when you do not have a break, sometimes it takes a while to like get your feet into the new edition. And so like we talked about, that orc player looks like he's running a 8th edition orc list. I don't want to guarantee because I don't know, but it seems very likely that a lot of players were also playing like they were in 8th edition as well, like going straight for the kill and not necessarily thinking as much about like the scoring portion of things. So those that were able to be a little bit more cognizant of scoring and really trying to grasp on the 9th, I feel like the people who can react to that faster, especially when I say faster, it's like reacting to the new weeks of the new edition, like they're the ones who are going to see like a massive jump in score regardless of list. And so I think an orc army with that many boys, I could see him like swamping out objectives and staying there, and like his opponent just trying to go for the kill, trying to go for the smasher guns when he's just like racking up the points. You know what I mean? That's all. It's just in my head. That was the first thing I thought of. I was like, oh, okay, I can see what happened.
Well, with scores in the high 90s, mid to high 90s, I'm curious to see what his secondaries would be, because that's what like Jeremy and I were talking earlier, that like primary doesn't matter because you're in some missions you're pretty much guaranteed to get full primary points. So he like his list is good at getting full primary. He can just sit bodies on objectives. But I'm curious to see what he's getting on secondaries, because he's obviously not taking deploy scramblers, which is a maximum of 10 points. So it's
I'm always curious why there are multiple secondaries that are just like you can earn 8 points. You could earn
actually deploy scramblers is a very common one, because when people are playing 9th edition correctly and not using 8th edition lists and stuff, or 10 points for an objective is actually very good. Getting that 10 to 12 range. Like I think Jeremy and I on our stats show, we were looking, and the average point per secondary is something like 8.6. So if you can beat that 8.6, you're doing good. It's one of the things we discussed. And so display scramblers being able to just get 10 is actually very good considering.
Talking about Stat Show, please join us for a live stream on Thursday.
Is it this Thursday or next Thursday?
I think it's this Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll make it
This
this
Thursday.
I tell you, that's one thing that I have noticed though is as far as the secondaries go is whereas you might have, you know, one secondary that's pretty easy for your army to score, it's hard to have an army that both scores, you know, 3 secondaries well, and that you're playing against an army that allows you to score 3 secondaries well. And that's one of the things that always surprises me about some of these high scores when I see it in a GT or what have you is, well, this guy played 5 rounds and he scored, you know, all 95s to 100s. Like, did he not meet up with any secondary denial armies that, like, every army he faced allowed him to score that many points? Because I don't know. I mean, I play against my friends and I haven't played a lot of 9th edition yet, but I certainly will. But man, I play against my friends and it's like, you can't get these scores against their armies. And a lot of the armies I'm building, like, you can't score maximum secondary. So you might get 1 maximum, but not 3 maxes against me, unless you're doing stuff that you do yourself.
Yeah, like engaging all fronts, you can probably get at least 13 to 14 points, 13 to 15 if you're doing well at that. And that, other than that, it's very matchup dependent. I mean, maybe raise the banners high if you're really good or something like that. But maybe, I don't know.
If you don't play it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they're good. I think that there's something to be said. There's a case study that can be made, almost like the Stat Show covers ideas and hypotheses about, you know, going first, going second, and different list design and maybe strategies that may be employed on certain events, certain types of missions, and certain types of matchups.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know who you are, but whatever you've done of Alex, give him back to me.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's like, well, I guess one thing, John, is we've noticed that mission specific secondaries, first of all, score well. Like priority target does well. And then
is that so? Mission
yeah, because
specific.
mission specific ones, if taken, tend to do well. And then the other ones that tend to do well are Bring It Down, which again are very matchup specific.
Yes.
And Assassinate, I think, was doing well, Jeremy.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, that's gonna stay.
You have any data on the Codex specific ones?
Not yet. I mean, those ones just came out, so we don't have any. We don't have any data on those. But it's like, as you were saying, like, who's he playing against? Because, like, yeah, Bring It Down. Like, we noticed that when people take Bring It Down, they get like 13 points, like all the time, like that's 13 really cool. Like really high, a very high average on Bring It Down. But that's because when you take Bring It Down, you're maxing out Bring It Down. But not every, but Bring It Down was like the 4th most taken one outside of if we excluding the mission specific. So it's like it's not taken always because again it's matchup specific.
Yeah, you're not going to take it against a footsie army.
So yeah, we'll have to see what happens, Jeremy, on our stats show on Thursday.
That's right.
To see if any of the data changes between our last episode that never got published.
That's right. Due to some technical difficulties.
Well, you know, John had meant, well, first of all, for everyone who went to that event, congratulations on the wins. That's awesome. You know, in my agenda, John had made the idea that I was going to awkwardly crash us into the next topic. So much like a Scorch Obama, I'm going to do 3 mortal wounds to everything within distance, and we're going to just ram ourselves into that next subject here. And
Burn Obama, not a Scorch Obama.
Okay. Well, no, okay. You know, in my narrative, it's a Scorch Obama. So
you forge your own narrative.
Your narrative, right. Goddamn narrative. John, you had mentioned that a little earlier that you have a game coming up with Anthony. I assume it's Anthony Diamore.
Yes, I do. Against
Space Marine player. He loves Death Watch. Until they get a new codex, I'm sure he's gonna be like, "Well, these Death Watcher count as so and so." What?
They get one.
Getting one in December.
Really in a week.
So, yeah.
Or are they next month or are they December?
No, pre-orders are Saturday for Death Watch. And
okay. Yeah.
So caveat: the $90 kit for Space Wolves that is also going to be on pre-order. and the $140 starter set for Death Watch, the only difference between those sets is an apothecary.
A $50
I'm not
apothecary.
joking with you. It's the exact same models. It was like the exact same Piper Primaris, the exact same HQ, 2 each of the the Death Watch and 2 of the Space Wolf like upgrade sprues.
Bruise, yeah.
And then one of them has an apothecary and one a Primaris apothecary, and the other one does
Maybe
not.
the Death Watch upgrade sprues have more bits on them than the
They
Space
do.
It's possible. Maybe they have like a bunch of special weapons that the Space Wolves don't get, but I'm sure the Space Wolves get frost weapons and shit, right? Like, I don't know.
Death
Yeah,
Watch
they-
ones, I'm
get
guessing, are
wolfy
more.
pelts. They got a whole sprue of wolf pelts.
They have a whole sprue of wolf pelts. You make a really good point. So you're playing against Space Marines.
Yes.
It's like that.
Well, you can clearly see like what their new battle box like balance logic is. They're like, this is 50 power level, and it's like, or like something like they're basing around power level. And I believe some of the units in the Space Wolf book have higher power level cost than the regular Space Marine version because they're different data sheets. They're not the same data sheets. Like the Reavers in the space. I was complaining about this earlier. The Reavers in the Space Wolf book are different than the Space Marine Reavers. And I think they're one more power level than the other. So I'm guessing like, I don't know. I don't know if it was purely monetary or if they just decided like this is the right starting power level. Maybe that's why. Maybe I'm just thinking too much into like how they're.
I think you're thinking too much.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day,
they actually promoted one of their app developers over to kit packaging.
I mean, there is like, there is.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I guess the difference between those Death Watch one is you get a lieutenant and 3 aggressors and a primary and an apothecary, and then the Space Wolf get the war suit and no characters. They have no characters.
Wait, you're looking at 2 different sets, sir.
No, I'm literally on the Warhammer page right now.
Pretty sure they're identical.
No,
They weren't?
not.
Oh,
I don't see. Oh no, they do have. They have one battle leader in the middle. I see him now.
yep.
But it's just like, it's the difference is you have 2 characters and 3 aggressors, and then the other box has. I mean, they're completely different units. They're actually fundamentally all different units, but in terms of model count, the Space Wolf box has like more models in the Death Watch box, but they also have a much bigger model in there too. So
So you think more
Alex was
resonant?
just forging the narrative there.
So I was just fully forging my narrative there.
he's forging his own narrative, him by himself and no one else.
So,
Okay, well-
speaking of forging a narrative, I'm hoping to not forge the narrative of losing once again with my my armies this weekend. And so I think when I'm going into this game, I'm in the same situation that I think a lot of sort of old school Necron players like myself. Now, I haven't been playing Necrons for a long time, but I do have an old school collection, right? So a lot of old school Necron players like myself are in a very similar selection. We have a lot of the old units, but is he mooning me? we don't have a lot of the new units built. I'm still building my Indomitus box set. I'm still putting together my Silent King. So whereas I do have new units, they're still getting assembled, they're still getting built. The monolith. Yes. So I have the smaller one of those. So what's the little C thing?
Oh, the pylon.
death-
You have the little sentry pylon.
I have the small pylon. Yeah.
Yeah, those were sex in 7th edition when you went, invisibility. Well, I don't target anything, so
So anyway, so what I'm getting at is I think my situation is very common for a lot of Necron players, where I have a ton of everything that has existed before this codex, and I'm building and painting all the stuff that's new and new hotness. So what I'm looking to build is not so much a new hotness list. I know I've been looking at some of the lists that Alex has been putting together, and they're like sexy cool. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. But for me, looking at a lot of the older models, I'm still trying to determine like what's good. Like in my mind, do I want to have like 60 warriors on the table nowadays? Do I want to have a bunch of immortals? Do I want to have a canoptic guard? Do I want a nice melee contingent in the middle? Does that mean I want a bunch of wraiths? Do I need all the vehicles?
Lich Guard.
Lich Guard. Yeah. See, I don't know. That's
He's an
right.
old school
robot.
player.
There's a
He's a
difference-
very veteran Necron player. He knows all of the
There's a
names.
difference between Necrons and robots because they have robots. Anyways,
John as a veteran Necron player definitely knows that.
So the problem is in our agenda, which again, John so detailed and so descriptive in his topics. He mentioned that he was going to provide a list, and he didn't provide a list of models.
I didn't.
So we can only go so far, but it sounds like you have a mix of old and you have a mix of new. So in previous episodes, you have told us and you've shown us that you bought a bunch of Necrons already built. And then of course you've got a few Indominus. And then for everyone who's watched the live streams, we know that you have been building, an Overlord, you've been building the Scorpack Lord. It depends on what kind of list I think it's like, you've run through the codex. Is there a certain like dynasty you were looking for to get started?
Sure. Yeah. So, the idea of, so the answer is yes and no, but honestly, I'm completely open. And the first thing that caught my eye when I saw your list, or the most recent one you were running, was that you had a custom dynasty. And so I'm immediately going like, oh, is that what I should be looking at? So right off the bat, if I'm going to go with a warrior heavy list, so I'm going to put like, say 40 plus warriors on the table, maybe 60 warriors on the table. Does that naturally lend me towards a particular dynasty? And if so, what should I look at? And if not, what are some of my hot take? What are my hot choices?
Double OBSEC.
I think the double OBSEC is what I keep thinking with all the warriors.
Well, here's a question, and I know that Jeremy's gonna.
Jeremy's not here. You're free to say whatever you want.
Oh, no. I'm sure he's going to agree with me is what I was going to say. But it really also depends on the secondary units that you want to have too, because there are a lot of different options to get OBSEC and then have your troops count as 2 models. With the Build a Legion dynastic, a dynastic option for the Rite of Awakening, having your Rite of Awakening become become the actual dynastic tradition of Eternal Conquerors, which gives you OBSEC. But then there's several different circumstances of awakening, and there's 2 that are really good: the extra 3-inch range for all the shooting for a healthy paranoia, or the relentlessly expansionist one, which is that 6-inch pregame move. But if you do that, it's a normal move that's done in the first battle round before either players play a turn. So if you use a command protocol called Eternal Guardian, you don't get the benefit of having one of the Eternal Guardian's directives, which a lot of people generally use on turn 1, is directive 2 is if you didn't move this turn, then you count as being in light cover. Everything does. That's not a dynastic agent or Satan shard. So normally you would want to do that, but if you do expansionist, even though you have
to me, that's a trap nowadays. Definitely I see myself always moving, right? This is a game of movement now.
So what I mean to say is initially people would want to say, I was in that category being like, oh shit, I want to move 6 inches for free and then not move and get first turn. Really, it's more meant to be like if someone else gets first turn against you, then you go, oh sweet, well I'm in light cover no matter what, so that's tight. But if you do expansionist and you use Eternal Guardian, even though you haven't had your turn yet and you did that 6-inch move, it's in the first battle round. So it's in a turn, which means that you don't get that ability at all. So really, and I know that this is actually going to go, this is going to go based on what Jeremy and I have talked about in the last couple of weeks, but it really depends on not just the core units like the Immortals and the Warriors that you want to run, but what HQs do you want to run? Do you want to run the Scorpack Lord?
I wouldn't mind running the Scorpack Lord, but I mean, I'm not sure. Like when I run the Scorpack Lord, it seems like now I have to go Destroyer Cult at that point, right? Oh, okay.
Now, so Jeremy and I have been talking about an idea for a couple of days, and originally so in 7th edition, with my Death Rays and the Sentry Pylons, I would always bring 2, like a unit of Wraiths or 2 units of Wraiths, and then 2 command barges, and command barges hit like a brick shithouse when they flew over enemy models. They did extra wounds. They had impact hits when they made a charge. So I tried making those work, and I realized even just math hammering it out that it wasn't going to be a good like smash cap in the Necron Codex for 9th. But and there was a certain unit that we had just mentioned a moment ago that I initially was not a big fan of at all, and I'm still not really going to bring them in any of my lists because I personally like the Locust Lord rather than the Scorpack Lord. because of his versatility and his usefulness, because he also can like buff Scorpec. But Jeremy, you had an idea, and it is right there on the surface level in the codex. But if you are interested in running your Scorpec Lord, Jeremy might have a few ideas about what dynasty you want to run.
Yeah, tell me, Jeremy, what you
So
got?
just set them up.
I mean, okay. I mean, it revolves around double OPSEC and making everything OPSEC, but the idea is to like make the Scorpec Lord like a durable, basically like a smash captain for Necron, effectively. Just to turn. I wouldn't say it's equivalent, but it gets pretty close.
It's very close.
You can basically, if you play Nihilak, which is the one generic dynasty that has double OPSEC, they have access to two cool mechanics for your Scorpec Lord. One of which is you can give him the Warlord trait pre-connective strike, but keep in mind, if you make him the Warlord, you do not get command protocols because he's not a noble character. So you'd have to spend the CP to get another character Warlord trait, and then you would give him this one. Just want to advertise that because before people don't realize this. And the Nihilak Warlord trait is it basically gives him strike first. So against thanks to Garrett, in our practice game, I realized this also. I was a little confused because the way I read it was, it literally says at the start of the fight phase, this Warlord can swing, can swing first, effectively, can fight for that phase. But typically, when they had those rules in the previous codexes, they also had follow up in parentheses explaining that like if somebody charged you, then you would go like in subsequent, you take like he would get the first activation. But it turns out it is like it's in the rule book. It's not in the subsequent like. So even though he has
to re-explain what Jeremy was trying to say.
Thank you.
He saw that the rule said this unit strikes first.
Yeah.
And normally the rules that say this unit strikes first have the caveat that says other units that have strike first, like chargers, you then alternate. This one didn't, so he thought it supersedes that because he didn't realize that in the back of the GT book and the core rule book, they have the rare rules section that says if multiple people have the strike first rule, you alternate.
Yeah.
So that's why they didn't have it in Necrons, because they have the rare rules now in the core rules that cover it for you.
It's still very rules, almost like universal special rules that they keep in one place in the book. But they got rid of USRs, so now they just have
rare rules.
Rare rules.
There is still a powerful mechanic in this, and that's the fact that if somebody charges your Scorpec Lord, they're probably also charging other units in your army typically. And it forces them to basically have to fight their Scorpec Lord first, unless they're going to take the risk of getting punked by the Scorpec Lord effectively. So it gives the ability of the Necron player, if he wants to spend 2 CP to activate somewhere else before that person gets to activate this other unit. So it has an interesting mechanic. It's still good. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still good. It's just not as good as I originally read into. And then additionally, the reason why you want to play them Nihilak is Nihilak have a relic that can basically go on any Nihilak model, and it's +1 armor saves, and it gives them a 6-up shrug. So it would make that Scorpec Lord 2-up save, toughness 6 wounds with a 6-up shrug,
4-up invul,
and a 4-up invul. Thank you, Alex. And then you have since he's a Scorpec destroyer, well, and also because the stratagem says so. The stratagem, there's a stratagem that lets you basically in any phase you can spend a CP, and Scorpec Lord or destroyers are -1 to be wounded at. So it's pretty good against like a lot of things. Like for example, I mean, in our game with Garrett played with Zerfirms against them, and they have a stratagem also that gives them +1 to wound. So I was able to net out their +1 wound, my -1 wound. So now they were still wounding on 5s of rerolls versus wounding on 4s of rerolls. They'd not had that mechanic, though they would have been wounding on 6s. If they didn't have the +1, they would have been wounding on 6s. So there's a lot of adding a -1 to wound is especially on a higher toughness model, is very good in terms of
durability. Anything over T5, that's going to be solid.
Yeah, no, he is kind of a beat stick. And
mine looks really cool.
Yeah,
that's the build I came up with him. There's definitely a lot more dynasty combination with him. That's the one I like because it has double OPSEC. It's like how do I design a list around double OPSEC, or the OPSEC plus double OPSEC mechanic.
Nice. So that sounds pretty good. So I'm going to put a Scorpec Lord on top to have a nice beat stick, and then what I'm going to add with him a couple of the couple of the Mancers, maybe a Technomancer or a Chronomancer or something like that. Or
are you going to run actual Scorpec too?
I mean, I got the units of Scorpec from the
Indominus.
The Indominus. I have 2 sets of them, 2 units of them.
Did you build them?
Yeah.
Okay, Chronomancer. Because the Chronomancer is just as fast as the Scorpec. If you bring the Scorpec with the Scorpec Destroyer Lord, they all reroll hits of 1 naturally. They all reroll wounds of 1 within 6 inches of the Scorpec Destroyer Lord himself. Yeah. Which, I mean, you don't have to bring them with them, but it's something that's helpful. And then they also get Whirling Death. So if you think that one's going to get focused more than the other, like, you can make the Scorpec Destroyers -1 to wound instead, and then kind of do a little slingshot and bring the other guy in. But the Chronomancer, and I built one of my own because the model isn't out yet. It's like, there's that meme of like, I forgot what movie it is, but it's like, oh, I think we're forgetting something. And someone's like stuck in a pool or stuck somewhere else far away. And it was like Games Workshop, like logo over one of the people's heads. And it was like, I feel like we're forgetting something. And it was the Chronomancer and the Psychomancer model, because we still don't know when the fuck those are coming out. But the Chronomancer wouldn't be hard to convert. Like, I literally took green stuff Tentacle Maker and made like the bottom half for the tentacle or the cord legs instead of having regular legs. But he moves 8 inches. He's got fly. He has a choice of 2 different weapons. It's either 2 attacks at strength 4, -2 rend, ignore invul saves 1 damage, or assault D3, strength 5, -2, 1 damage, ignores invuls. But frankly, you'll always use the entropic stave, which is 3 damage, strength 4 in combat, and strength 8, 18 inches, -3 rend, 3 plus D3 damage at range. So that's nice. Like a free little, like, useful, helpful, like pseudo, I don't want to call it a melt-a-gun, but it's like something that's helpful, right?
Well, it's always nice when you have, because characters typically don't have heavy shooting.
No.
Usually you get like something that is down to 1 wound, 1 model, 1 wound, and you need to snipe off that last wound. That's what I always seem to be using my character shooting. So now that sounds like something solid to peel off that last wound.
Yeah, so now you got an AP -3 thing that does minimum 4 damage is great. But so the kicker isn't his usefulness with that, and the fact that he's the only cryptic that has a standing 4-up invulnerable save. But he can keep up with the Scorpec because he's got fly, an 8-inch move, and they have 8-inch move without fly. But on top of that, they have something that you don't see anywhere else in the Necron Codex. Now, in the Necron Codex is relatively restrictive, which I don't mind, but it's relatively restrictive in the idea that certain auras are very explicit on certain types of units, and a lot of special abilities are very explicit towards primarily code and Kineptech units. However, the Chronomancer can give a Chronometron to any unit within like 6 inches of it. And a Chronometron gives that unit a 5-up invulnerable save and reroll charges. So when you give that to, the Scorpec Lord to get reroll charges, he doesn't need the invul, but now he's got reroll charges. You can give it to the Scorpec or Scorpec Destroyers. Some of them Scorpec Destroyers are at a 3-up, 5-up, and they reroll charges. So like you start to see these usefulness like compound itself, and there's something there,
So that sounds pretty solid. So that sounds like a pretty good core right now. So I've got a Scorpec Lord. I've got a Cryptek Chronomancer. I'm rocking 2 units or 1 big unit of Scorpec, 2 small units. You think? I tend to like MSU of the Scorpecs going in there, and maybe 40 warriors and 10 immortals. I think am I almost at 2,000 points now? I think I got room for like one more unit.
You're right. You're right. Splitting them up into 2 units of 3 is way better.
Wow, like John used his veteran Necron prestige to educate our resident expert Alex in how.
Well, it just like it snapped in my head. I was like, oh shit, yeah, that is better. fuck.
I mean,
Oh,
it's also not because the Chronomicon can only affect one unit.
Right,
that's
yeah,
also
it's
very
that
true.
trade-off. It's the buff versus the survivability.
Well, I
right?
keep on thinking I wanted to bring the 5-man unit for so long, and then Greg in a different chat had mentioned to Jeremy and I. Well, it was like, well, the moment a mana core hits it, you can make a mana core with stratagems and a warlord trait hit at minimum damage or minimum number of shots for a blast weapon. That would be minimum 6 shots against the Scorpec because it's 2d6 shots. Then you could make it a minimum 3 damage out of d3 damage. So all of a sudden he could have 6 shots hitting on 4s, wounding on 2s, strength 10, and ignore invuls and ignore armors against the Scorpec. So if you do have the invul, you only got the 5-up save, and it's going to kill a guy per hit, and there's 6 hits, and 3 hits or 4 hits maybe. They're all probably wounding.
Alex forgot they're only winning on 3s, not 2s.
They'll be wounding on 3s because you will make them -1 to wound. So realistically, you could lose 2 Scorpec, maybe.
And then if
probably
you're at
1.
You'll get 1 back. So don't worry about it.
You roll like I will. You'll get 1 back.
Yeah, John, learn to roll a 5+.
A lot.
Ooh. Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's all in the wrist, honestly.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm more of a 3+ kind of guy.
No,
Yeah,
well,
I'll
see,
work on
you
it.
have your 3+ save, but that RP, just like roll 5s. Roll
Okay,
lots of
okay.
5s,
So,
and you're invincible.
I play Nurgle in Age of Sigmar, so I am used to trying to roll 5. So I've got the go for 5s mentality. Now, will that help me, Alex, if I say a prayer to the grandfather Nurgle before I roll my reanimation protecols?
Necrons don't give a shit about
Necrons are
Nurgle.
green.
They don't like gods. They kill gods.
For the 5.
They kill
Except for
gods.
Whatever
Yes.
helps you get that 5.
I'd say it's a yes. I think he said yes. Excellent.
Also,
I will say, in my experience with Jeremy, so I have very limited experience. I don't know if the Scorpec destroyers fix this, but one interesting aspect that I noticed with playing against Necrons as opposed to like Tau or even sometimes Imperial Guard or Orcs or whatever is they do not have a lot of things that can help threaten your backfield. Like as my sisters, I was able to abandon my backfield with a very minor detachment back there, just like a couple of sisters, and I was able to play super aggressively because they're a very defensive faction that can take a lot of hits, but as long as you keep applying pressure to them, they don't have things that can like teleport or jump over to you. I mean, I guess with like Tomb Blades and stuff, they probably would, but like if you're going full into the warrior heavy defensive, keep all your heroes focused and defending your warriors, they are not going to be jumping forward and threatening backfields. They don't have a lot of outflankers, from what I understand.
You think maybe I should build up maybe some wraiths with it?
I guess just be
those in
prepared. No,
reserves?
just be prepared for that when you do your strategy.
Okay.
At least in my game against Jeremy.
No, because I think you're hitting on something there. Is the Scorpec? They're okay, but they're not going to be racing across the field. In fact, this whole army still seems like it's going to be pushing to midfield by turn 3. So what do I need
Turn
for
one.
a faster element? You think I'm there? How am I there by turn 1? Where's the speed?
Reanimation protocols.
You're not doing the extra 6-inch move, but yeah, RP. If you have a unit of warriors with ideally Reapers, I would say, and they start nuking
That's
the guys.
the new weapon, right?
Yeah.
That's the new weapon, yeah. And you start bringing models back, you can bring them back one at a time. Think Legions and Nagash.
Yeah,
So,
Except you can't put them within an inch unless the unit's already within an inch of an enemy model.
The legions have the same.
Exactly. Well, with the FAQ.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
yeah.
see. So you shoot at me and I go grab an objective.
It's like good old Ironjaw's rule, but better because like Ironjaw's like, oh, you shot at me, I go D6 inches closer. You like, oh, you killed 5 of my dudes and they came back. I go 5 dudes closer.
So coming from Age of Sigmar and playing as Necrons, and then playing against another person who's very experienced in Age of Sigmar, you know, just me, Jeremy and I playing, it's like we both knew that that was something that could happen. So in our game, when his sisters, his Zephyrim, go in and kill a bunch of warriors but don't kill them, and I bring a bunch back, and I'm already holding one objective from 5 OBSEC sisters, and then I move my casualties and bring them back because I'm still within engagement range of the Zephyrim, around the Zephyrim to get back within 3 inches of the objective they took from me, and have enough to then steal the objective. First of all, there was a bit of a mini table flip moment there. But second of all, like 40K players who are probably not ready for that. Like I will enjoy like suckling from like the life essence of getting that like just like watching the face, like the light go out, you know, just like
until he gets back in the fact, and he's just like, damn it,
he's not gonna get fact.
What
He's not gonna
what
get
fact?
fact.
Like Age of Sigmar has proven they're not going to fact
Working
that.
as intended.
AOS, yeah, exactly. AOS is proof in the pudding that they're not going to fact that shit.
Like honestly,
they
watching
have other things they need to fact.
watching Jeremy play reminded me of my good old Legion of Night days, and I'm like, you know, maybe I should get back into Necrons. Like I feel like that cat with like the
Yeah, I was about to say.
like maybe I should get back into Necrons.
Well, hey, if you have an old Necron army, it's
I
gonna
sold it all. I ended up I had fifth edition. I had a whole Necron army, and before I moved across the country, I decided to sell my whole Necron army. So I only
well, you know, you saw my monolith, right? And like, granted, it doesn't have the death rays on it, but it's funny because Games Workshop, when they came out with the model, they said, hey, this is gonna, you know, the new model is gonna be even bigger than the old monolith, and it's slightly smaller. So
Is it really?
just barely smaller. So you know, if you have a lot of models, you have a lot of usefulness for a lot of fun shit.
Isn't the one you have, is that the second or third monolith they've made?
There's only ever one.
There's only been one before.
That's how old it is. No, there have not been two.
No, this is they now came out with the second.
Yeah, this is part 2.
Yeah. So that other thing, what was that other big old monolith looking thing?
Necron Pylon.
That was a pylon. That comes out during the compendium. That's going to come out. That's a Forge World model.
It's a Forge World model.
Oh.
It is the most price efficient one because I bought it.
That's the one that opens up and has the Satan inside?
No, that's the Tesseract Vault.
That's the Tesseract.
Do you have one of those?
I
know.
Oh, okay. Because if you brought one of those, you would ruin his day because they got cheaper points wise, and they have a 2-up save now with their 4-up invul, and their Satan Shard keyword, which is a bummer, but they have 5 Satan powers, which is a little nutty. And they
can only take 3 wounds because they're a Satan.
No. It's a 30 wound model. So times that by 3. That's how many wounds they have. Oh, no. Oh, Necrodermis. They don't have the Necrodermis rule.
Oh, okay.
That would be too much. You can't have a T8, 30 wounds.
It takes 10 phases to
kill
kill
also
them.
only takes 3 wounds. You can't have that.
Because I was about to go buy one right now.
Holy shit. Yeah, no, you don't get that. But
like,
I mean,
when's Anthony coming over tomorrow? Anthony,
Sunday.
I might. Oh, Sunday. Yeah, you have plenty of time to build.
You have plenty of time to build one of the most complicated Games Workshop models that they sell. Yeah. That you would definitely want to paint, or that you would definitely want to light up.
So I know I was going to do the Scorpec Lord and the
up.
Silent King tomorrow for the live stream, but now we're doing the vault because I need one by Sunday.
That's right. Go. Normally you see Mike slow, careful modeling. Tonight it is speed modeling night with John.
John, you need a Necron Overlord in your army.
Yes.
Okay.
You can go over that, but that's a core component you need to have.
Now, how am I equipping him? Because I have like every kind of Overlord you can imagine.
Oh,
it's up to you.
Well, it depends on how fluffy you want to be too.
I look at his face. It doesn't say fluffy.
No.
John,
I'm so old school with my Necrons that I predate the fluff.
So that's right. Yeah, I'm just back to the original fluff when they're just basically Arnold.
When they were Chaos Androids.
When they were just Arnold Schwarzenegger bots.
They used to be Chaos Androids.
Yes.
Now I'm even more into them. The name makes a lot of sense now.
Well, I mean, my recommendation is obviously a Res Orb. Like
Orb.
Yeah,
Res Orb. Trace in the Infinite is not Nihilic keyword.
No, he's not Dynasty.
He's a dynastic agent.
Yeah,
I was gonna mention Trazen because he's dynastic agent, so he despite him being Nihilic and literally having a Nihilic glyph on his model in his chest, I guess he's not Nihilic Dynasty in the book. The funny thing is he's 5 points more than a regular Overlord, and he is an Overlord. He's noble keyword. He's got the exact same stats as an Overlord. He's got 3 up, 5 up, has my will be done, has Relentless March, but he's got surrogate hosts, so he could, like, if he dies, he could on a 2 up replace another character, which is not good. It's more of a just in case oh fuck method if he dies, but and his combat is meh. But he's basically you spend 5 extra points from a stock Overlord and you get a free relic.
Yeah, except he doesn't have a res orb, so he's meaningless.
Yeah, he doesn't have a res orb. So, but you could always get a cheap 70-point Lord and give him a res orb for 100.
Constrained. No, the reason why you want the Overlord, John, is so that way you can get command directives.
Gotcha.
You need a noble warlord to get command directives. So,
right, and so I don't get that with my Cryptek or the Scorpek.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So destroyer cults aren't going to give you that noble keyword. So it's going to be a CCB. It's going to be a Catacomb Command Barge. It's going to be your Overlord. It's going to be a Lesser Lord, or it's going to be one of the named Overlords.
Yeah, just make sure that's the noble keyword.
Yeah, okay. All the named Overlords have the noble keyword. But
keep in mind, if your warlord dies, you lose command directives. They disappear.
Yep. No. So you need your warlord to be noble keyword, and you need a noble. So you need a noble keyword warlord in your army.
Yep.
To have command protocols, and at the start of each turn, or start of each battle round, you can use your command protocols if there is a noble keyword here or HQ on the table. So if you have 2 noble keyword HQs, and that means, and one of them is your warlord designated on the list, then you get to run command protocols. But if by some chance that warlord dies and the other one's still alive, you still get command protocols.
Yeah, I'm just saying he doesn't have any noble outside of his warlord.
Generally, yeah, every list that I built, every list that you've built, there's only been 1 noble keyword on the table. So yeah,
it's the only one.
So that's pretty common to only have 1 noble, but I might want to consider a second if I want to make sure I have access to command protocols the whole game.
Yeah, which is unfortunate that the rarefied nobility stratagem doesn't give a model noble keyword, which is the one that lets you take another warlord trait on a character.
So
yeah, that's unfortunate.
So it sounds like we have a good start to your list, but how many warriors? You said you have a bunch of warriors?
I got like 80. I got 40 of each style right now.
Fuck. Okay. So yeah, 2 blocks of 20. That's
with the new weapons, right?
Yeah. With the new weapons or old, you can have 1 unit of 20 flayers, 1 unit of 20 reapers. I prefer reapers for everything now, but
okay.
I mean, there's something to be said about the stratagem for rapid fire weapons getting 6s to hit, causing an additional hit. If you do rapid fire gauze, that is a 1 command point stratagem. You can combine that with the 6s to wound, or 6s to hit also cause an auto wound, and that's for any gauze weapon, not just rapid fire. So you could spend 2 CP having 6s to hit, causing additional hits in addition to automatically wounding. There's something to be said about that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So
it's hard to value a 24-inch range rapid fire gun on the shorter tables and the constrained fire lanes from 9th edition terrain. That's why.
Yeah, I'm finding that the range is rarely an issue nowadays.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of the Gauss Flare has its place. I just think the Reaper just performs better in 9th edition missions, basically.
Yep.
I don't know, Jeremy. You were you've been having some shooting issues in that turn. That shooting phase we're about to have. You're gonna have like 3 guys going into 1 unit, 8 guys going to 1 unit, and 4 guys going into another unit because you couldn't shoot everybody into my retributors.
Yeah. I mean, it's still an issue because you can't run when you retreat in 40k. But at the same time, like
you can't run in for you.
Trust me, the problem is the difference is the Gauss Flare would have probably not killed as many models as those 3 guys are gonna kill.
So I have one final suggestion for your list here.
Yeah, please.
And this is an accidental one. So for all of our listeners, I don't want to spoil too much because we do have the live stream on YouTube and soon to be Twitch, I'm sure, for Jeremy and I's game last Sunday. But at the last minute, I had forgotten I had a list with 2 Technomancers, and it was probably the last list that you saw, John. but I forgot one of my painted Technomancers at home, and I've been trying to make an effort to not have a bunch of bare plastic in the live streams. So I couldn't feel comfortable. Like I was like, shit, I need a Cryptek. And Jeremy was just starting to build his Necron, so there was a Cryptek available, but it was also unpainted because he like just built it hours before. And so I was like, I kind of made a commitment to myself to say that I wasn't going to bring bare plastic. I have a Royal Warden here. They're the same amount of points as a Technomancer stock. Fuck it, let's try it. And it ended up being a fucking world of difference. I've already played with the Royal Warden once. Highly recommend bringing a Royal Warden in your list too. So
what does
that is the interesting thing about Necrons is you end up being very hero heavy.
You do. Your opponent will almost always be using Assassinate against you.
Unless, sort of, because if they can't kill your heroes because they can't kill the warriors to get past to be able to shoot the heroes, then like I don't know. Is it like 5 to 6 heroes? Yeah, you think, they have 5 to 6 heroes, I'll just kill them. If you can reach them. So yeah, you will be hero heavy, John. Be prepared for that.
Well, you know what? I will certainly report back at our next recording during in my phase, as it were, as to how this list pans together for me and what details I stab into the nooks and crannies of the list when I actually put it together, as it were. So look forward to it. I really appreciate the guidance there, Alex. I think that's pretty helpful stuff for, like I said, an old school Necron player like myself. Got all the old models. Still having a bit of a challenge considering what we're going to work with. So I think that's a nice compromise with some new Scorpec units out of the Indomitus set, which most of us have picked up, as well as some of the older units that are already littering my collection.
Do you have the ability to live stream that game?
I guess I could, but I won't.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, you got that on your docket for this week, and you also have the hobby session tomorrow, correct? Or maybe a couple of days before this recording?
Yeah, so as of this recording, I will have just finished building the Scorpec Destroyer Lord, and then, of course, looking forward to next week starting up on the Silent King, so that should be good, as well as, let's see, when this episode drops tomorrow, which will be Saturday, I also have an episode of Fireheads coming out, where I have Mr. Andrew Staniford of LVO Championship fame, etc., and he is going to climb that hot pepper ladder with me. I can honestly say that in this session, I eat more hotter peppers in a row than I have ever eaten in my entire life. And Andrew goes along with me. People often joke about having a little bit of burn the next day. This is actually the first time I had a little burn going on the next day. So it was quite the hot evening. We'll see there. So anyway, so that's how it's gonna go. And that's all we got going on.
Okay. What about Jeremy and Garrett? You guys have something going on later this week, right?
Yeah, we have our stat show, and then potentially our second actual real our rematch of round 1 of the TTS.
We should probably actually schedule it and then promote it that we're actually going to play, like stream
almost
it
like
and
we're
stuff.
like a professional broadcast or something. Jesus.
Yeah. So yeah, I think
something like that.
So I think depending is that if this comes out on Thursday or Friday, the stats show will be live streamed either the day before or the same day that this is released. Thursday, probably around 7 p.m. East Coast time.
Yep.
So yeah, probably about 7 p.m. East Coast time on Thursday. Was that October 30th? Is we'll have a live stream stat show to go over the 40K secondaries as how they've been scoring, and then total performance of how people are doing on losses, wins, how many points people are getting, and things like that. And then we will have probably shortly thereafter a live stream TTS game of Jeremy versus me, Adeptus Aretus Bloody Rose versus Custom Dynasty Necrons.
Part 2. Awesome. Okay. And then, of course, Jeremy and I have our live stream game on Sunday. I'm pretty sure it's going to be AOS, but maybe we'll just say fuck it and do 40K again. Not quite sure. Not quite sure. It's been a minute since we've done the AOS one, so
Aww.
it has been. We need
Just bring back the Fire Slayers.
Yeah, that's right. Just play Fire Slayers again.
You could just bring the Fire Slayers back. Hey, last time I think I was the last person to play with them.
That's right. You were the last.
Yeah. Oh boy. But yeah, if you guys do like this episode, do like and subscribe, smash that subscribe button like we talked about. And you know, we are on YouTube, Twitch, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We're on FLG's Roll for our Age of Sigmar podcast every other week. Yeah, we have all this content that we want to share with you guys. So do be a part of it. So participate, like, comment, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. Who cares? I do, but that's not the point. This is going to be Alex, John, Jeremy, and Garrett signing off for the evening. Have a good night.
Everyone.